class, but yeah.
Just thinking ahead, with the timing of school coming up, do we need to, are we going to need to do a special meeting to do the second reading and approval of these before school starts?
No, I don't think it's necessary. No. It's good to have the policies, and you see that if one of these things took place the first week of school, this is how we do it. It's not adopted yet. But then we also have a policy that says, in the lack of policy, the superintendent makes decisions on the problem, I guess.
I just have one question, doing the two policies. So on staff, it's susceptible is defined as for an employee means lacking evidence of immunity. And for students, it says for a child means lacking documentation of immunity. Is that intentional?
I'm going to make an assumption. When you run into these policies that are mirror policies, student, staff, and there's a little bit of wording difference, it's because there's an OAR wording difference. And OSBA always uses the wording that's in the OAR when they actually write it.
Which there is an OAR at the end of the student one.
Right.
That's silent.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I think because we require students to have certain
Right.
organizations, but we don't require staff.
Good questions, any other questions? Further discussion? About the first reading of this policy?
Make a motion, we accept the first reading of policies G, B, E, P, and JHCC as presented. And direct superintendent to compile public or board member input concerning any revisions for presentation during the September regular meeting.
Second. Bring a motion from Manny and a second from John. The board will take a vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. The motion carries. Very good. So that does it for our action items. We'll move on to our reports and discussion items. The first is the board requested discussion item of fall student activities.
I received a request from a board member a couple of weeks ago that we discuss, what kind of activities we're going to do in fall. The OSAA put out their guidance and essentially says all of the OSAA organized sports are going to start in January. What are we going to do in fall? If you follow up of either Facebook or our live feed, you would have seen a post in the last day. And just like every day recently, we're buried in new guidance. And the post was about, here's OSAA's new rules. Since you're members of OSAA, you still have all these rules to follow to do out-of-season activities. So, notwithstanding, what I can tell you is that we are planning student activities. And we're going to figure out how to do things to get kids involved and belonging in school at all grade levels in a safe way and adhering to all of that guidance. We should have a problem with that. Candy was unable to be here tonight, but Matt, I think, knows a little more about what the secondary is planning on doing. I can tell you that from the elementary, this will be a discussion of ideas and brainstorming later this week as the staff activities. Those planned activities are traditionally 7-12, and that's where the first focus is. The elementary, will we be able to go to the pumpkin patch? I don't know yet, but that's about where we're starting. And the guidance I put out to everybody right now is don't ask in September. We're not going anywhere, there's no field trips. we'll see how things go as we're just starting out, and we'll start talking about October as we go into it. But we're trying to come up with those things. We also have things like outdoor school. We're still planning. All of those things are still on the drawing board. From a secondary level, Mr. Clements?
Sure. So this is guidance that you may have received. It's dated August 17th. Athletic directors had an opportunity to review this last week. They met, Old Oregon League met, including Candy. She unfortunately couldn't be here tonight, but here's a quote from Candy earlier today. We're going to make the best of this and take advantage of this opportunity. And you sense optimism in that statement. That's where she's at. We're looking at how can we make the best of this. OSAA, the title of this is Season 1, Limited Return to Play. Okay. Decipher that, okay, we're not doing the rural sports, but we have opportunity to do other things. Here's what we're looking at, working with other athletic directors in this area. So cross country, volleyball, flag football, some variation of those. With all of those, we'll be following strict guidance and guidelines, and being careful if we get an opportunity to compete with another school in some form or fashion, limited play or limited contest, for example, cross country, perhaps we have a meet here, perhaps we have a cross country meet in Enterprise, that sort of thing. One of the things we would be verifying prior to that, prior to schedule or the competition, is verify their safety practices are consistent with the guidelines, so that we're all comfortable with who we're interacting with and how what practices that have been in play. With all this comes similar expectations as to what you'd have in a regular season. Kids have to have a physical, there's a number of practices that have to be met, so on and so forth. All of that's still in place. Masks are required. If you're indoors, they're required. If you're out of doors, if you can't consistently be further than 6 feet away, so cross country probably is okay. But if you can't consistently be more than 6 feet away, mask is required. Beyond that, Candy and others are looking at what else can we do. Here's an opportunity, as she stated. This is an opportunity to think outside the box. What else could we do? How can we, for example, what can we do to help grow the potential for a football team looking down the road? How far down can we go and help groom some of those kids, get them interested and excited about football or other sports, volleyball, pick your sport. Looking at skill and drill opportunities, all those sorts of things. And then what else do we have for kids who aren't necessarily those sports enthusiasts, but they're looking for engagement as well? What else is out there? Things like perhaps esports or who knows. So once we have kids on site, we'll be moving into that. One of the things that Candy did here that has worked really well is she teaches a leadership class. And part of that leadership class is these kind of conversations, working with student leaders and others who have interest in providing guidance, getting feedback from other kids. What will they do? It'd be terrible to plan all sorts of activities and have nobody really interested in it. So including them in some of the decisions on some of this is the direction we're going. Look forward to continued reports. Candy will be here next time to assist. And we'll keep you updated and apprised of where we're going. Any questions?
Is there a plan for things like FFA or choir, speech and debate?
Yes.
Obviously, actual competitions and whatnot.
Right, so I'll let Earl speak to speech and debate, but yes, FFA, of course, is looking at what they can do, so that's a little separate from the other activities, but there's guidance regarding music competitions of band and choir, as well as speech and debate, but we're looking at those opportunities. What's possible given the restrictions and limitations? Our intent is to provide as many opportunities as we can, operating under safe practices and guidelines, following the protocols, following the guidance, but providing as many opportunities as we can for our kids and engage as many kids as possible. They've been missing out on a lot of stuff. They're anxious to get back into it. And it's an opportunity to engage kids who may not have otherwise been engaged at all. So, opportunity.
The speech and debate, the state has said that they're trying to put together some virtual tournaments in the fall. I'll see. I'm frankly not that interested. But we should be able to return to competition in January, which just puts us off a little bit in cycle. Assuming that all of these things hold, they'll start doing tournaments again in the middle of the year. If not, let's just put it this way. I'm conflicted, so unless the athletic director or high school principal tells me, coach, you will. You know, this could be, it could end up that way, because if we don't actually start competing by January, the competition, and I know John had Maggie compete, the competition itself, and being there with your peers is such a huge part of the competition. Standing in front of a camera back in your school, now your competition depends upon who has the best technology. So much of it, and I don't know. We'll see. We may or may not see how it all comes together. But nonetheless, we'll be organizing in a couple of months. We'll be late. We'll be organizing, seeing who's interested, seeing they put together a speech and debate team. And I know that the music competition is not far off of that same idea. But they're looking at virtual competitions and possibilities we don't know yet. And with the hope that you're going to be able to have real competitions by 2012.
So I'll throw one more in. Since Dr. Farrell's been here, we have a drama class. And I know her drama class, one of the things they'll be working on is a out-of-school production of some sort for this fall that'll marry up with all the guidance and protocols. So we're going to continue, again, thinking outside the box.
It's good report. We talked on our 28th meeting about everything that goes beyond just reading, writing, and arithmetic, how it benefits the lives of these kids, and these extracurricular activities play an important role in that. So that's very encouraging to hear that drive to get those opportunities in front of them to grow and excel in different ways beyond just classroom instruction. Very good. Any other board members have questions? Okay, thank you. We'll move on to our deputy clerk report. Ms. Brashears.
So with this only being the first month of the fiscal year, the report's pretty limited. There's not a lot to talk about unless someone has a question.
Come up with a good August question or something.
What's
I
that?
gotta come up with a good August question.
Right.
Board, any questions for Amy? All right, look easy. Mr. Pettit, superintendent report.
Yeah, I wanted to, publicly, while I informed all the board members of the long-range planning process previously, that it was actually a couple of days ago that it's all official. We canceled our grant. We canceled the contract with Design West and said, yeah, this is a good year to do long-range planning for the district. So we're working with ODE. They are making us immediately eligible for the grant again. So not that I intend on applying for it right now. I'm going to wait get a year's space going before we do it. It's important to know that on that again, going back on it. Otherwise, we inadvertently, unintentionally wasted more tax dollars. When you do those grants, there's two of them. There's the facilities assessment, which is complete. We have a full report. There is the long-range plan. Both of those reports are required within 5 years of applying for a match grant to the state. So if we decide we're going to do construction in the next 5 years at any time and ask for a match grant from the state, we already have that. So it gives us 3 years to get that done. It just seemed like, I think I didn't hear any objection when I notified you, so it seemed like a pretty bad idea to try to do long-range planning for the district during a pandemic. So we ended up spending about $4,700, right? And of which the state will reimburse us. But in the big decision, it was, well, we spent $4,700, we didn't spend $20,000 on a product of taxpayer dollars. So we'd started the thing back in January, just barely got it started. I put it on hold in the spring, and then canceled it last week. Related to the long-range planning, the only facilities discussion we should be having shortly, I was hoping you could have it tonight, but I don't have the allocation yet for the SIA money, and that has to do with remodel the old cafeteria to provide, boy, I wish we had it now, because we need that space for the services that we're having to provide right now. And if you walk into the building, you'll see we've actually taken it. It's not an ideal space, but it's better than the closet that we have in the office. So that will come about. I anticipate in the end, the discussion will end up being, do we want to spend operational dollars? We want to put commitment towards this in addition to the grant, because I anticipate that the amount to get that done is going to exceed the amount of the grant, but I don't know by how much. And if we don't do that, the whole SIA process is kind of, well, in my mind, it's questionable, because we're being told, hey, you build a plan on $300,000. And we built a plan on $300,000. And that was about right to do that full renovation, to do all the pieces and parts that need to go with that. And then we built a plan, and then we're told, oh, well, you need to fix your plan. There's some elements missing here. I want you to fix that. Oh, by the way, you're getting $100,000. Well, I wrote back and waiting for a response saying, so I built a plan based upon the assumption you're going to get a certain amount of money. You're telling me to go forward with a plan that we can't fund. What we need to do is start over on the plan. Now, if the plan ends up being to do the same thing, that's great, but it's going to have to be done a different way. It's not going to be funded by that money to do the renovations, to get the facilities so we can hire the staff to fill it. That was the process we had been looking at. So related to long-range planning and capital and construction, the only thing we really have on the radar is that renovation. And that's an immediate, as soon as we get moving on it, have discussions on it, I will bring that to you. So hopefully in September, I'll be able to ask for some decisions and direction. The reopening has been, every day is a new adventure. It's going to be really awesome. I'm thankful to the board for authorizing the higher education staff. in just the first couple of days. It's taking some load off, so I'm able to now deal with some of the other issues in the district and getting care organized. It clearly does not alleviate me of any responsibility. It's just, Karen's gonna be right there, dealing with the day-to-day on that. And having the discussions with the other superintendents as we get close. I have a joke in our office that I wish I was Union, because Union really put their plan together in the last couple of weeks. And we had done so much work and changed it so many times over and over again. And I remember when this first started, and I had a discussion with the board, and I said, yeah, I'm not gonna release the plans on the block. And everybody was cool with it. And then as time passed, the community demanded knowledge now. We need to know what we're gonna be doing. So we started pushing it like most everyone else. Hearing what the other neighbors are doing, all I can say is, well, some of the wording in the plans might be a little bit different. It's just wording different. The actual execution and the plan, that's us. It looks the same as ours. And I can say that about Union and Himbler. Powder looks the same as us, except they're dealing with a Baker and spike numbers in Baker because that's in their area, service area. And so they're going to do an alternating high school only to start, so it's, AD schedule. Everybody else in the county is opening fully except the Grand, and the Grand is opening every day for K3. There's some things that you wouldn't have anticipated, or maybe you should, I don't know. One of the things I usually tell you is enrollment. I don't know. What I know is we're full. I have a list. It's a scramble. I asked Kelsey on the way out of the office today, I said, how many students, if we told her how many students came and went today, how many was it? I lost count, 10. And each day it's that we've got people moving in, people moving out physically. And it's quite rapid. At the same time, I gave George a heads up over there in LeGrand that since the third week of July, we have had 22 applicants out of their district. And I've accepted none because we have no space. However, it looks like I will accept 2 as we're coming up close. And that's based purely on our guidelines. Our charter, we have 2 spaces in the right grades. But just letting them know because the districts are concerned about people jumping in different schools. And what the reality is, it's not happening in Union County. It's everybody's worried about it, but it isn't happening. Indoors are no different than we are. They don't have the space. Powder's the same way. That is the issue between Union and LeGrand. It's not really our concern or our issue when you do hear it come up. There is not any of the districts that is going to follow the idea of all masks all the time for all people. None of them. They look like our plan. And what I've been doing, so, and I'll update you and I'll update the community as well. I'll get to that in a second. Is because we're trying to weigh and say and make sure we know that we are mitigating risk all the time, doing something to mitigate risk. But simultaneously, I want, if we're going to be outliers, so be it. But if we're not outliers, which it looks like we're not, then I want us to look pretty much the same. And that's what the neighbors want too. And so we're working together to make sure that the mask issue specifically, because that is a hot button issue. It's a political issue, however you want to look at it, it's a hot button issue. Then we're all doing the same thing. So what that might mean is, for example, masks are required for passing periods. You socially distance the classroom, you're back in your little cocoon, your little area, you're socially distanced, you're in your cohort, you can remove your mask. We say that right from the start, but then other schools are writing it in as like, well, we're going to say that's a mask break. Okay, whatever. So you'll see the words back then. And then the rest of the plans, truly, the protocols look very similar, almost identical with all the schools that are together. The communication, I've been putting out some communication with parents. We'll be calling tomorrow to ask for, starting tomorrow. There was a paper that went out asking for people to identify which they chose and those kind of things. Anybody who didn't return it that we don't get by tomorrow, we'll start calling. It's been pretty neat to see because it was predictable. I think we had a total of maybe a dozen or 15 students that will be online so far. So we'll be doing that.
Doing the virtual academy.
Doing the virtual academy. The expectation when I started was 10%, so 30. That's what I was thinking. But it looks like what's happening is we're not having people go online because they're afraid for their personal safety in school. We had one of those early, and we still do, and we got one family that says that, and I'm okay with that. That's their choice. It is, no, I don't want to put up with all this is doing. It's been the objection all along. Now, I'm actually pleased because we've cut that down a ways. And when you start talking about we're going to be offering activities, we're doing things, okay, people back off. But the parents' concern, the main concern has been